Michel. Comment ça va?
I love it when you talk foreign.
I like to talk French, eh? Très bien.
French?
You good?
I don't speak Afrikaans.
World Cup special, first one of many. Hopefully we're going to be there right till the end, 28th of October, when the Springboks take on France and they win the World Cup. We've said that on record, ad nauseum, and the only time you can debate that with me is at midnight on the 28th of October. Up until then, it's box to win. Box to win by 20. It's a World Cup. I like to double my bets there.
Yes.
This week, it's finally here.
Can you believe it?
Actually, I can, mate.
In a way, it's surreal. Like, we've been waiting for this moment, and now that it's here, you're almost like, is it really here? Is it happening? Yes, it is.
I'm pretty excited that it's here. I mean,
that's not what you said off camera, mate.
I know, but I looked at the schedules. Some good games, some crackers. We're not going to worry about Australia against Georgia. Eddie will get his first game. Danny Cipriani won't be happy about that. But Eddie will get a win and it'll all come together. We're going to look at the games that really matter. So if you're here to listen about the Springboks in Scotland, leave now, because we'll be talking about the Boks in our second show a little bit late in the week, because they only play on Sunday. The defending champions open their campaign against Scotland the Brave in Marseille on Sunday late afternoon. The big one obviously is going to be host France against the All Blacks, and sandwiched in between that there's going to be two very interesting games. It's going to be Los Pumas, my friend over there, you ever talk to me, against England, and it will be Fiji against Wales in Bordeaux. It's not quite the one that everyone wanted to see back in 2007 when Fiji upset Wales in Marseille.
Made them very upset.
Great game. And that's when we played Fiji in the quarterfinals, and I bumped into many a Welsh individual that weekend because they'd all bought their tickets for the quarterfinals.
Oh my goodness.
And they had to wear Wales red and a bit of Fiji white. So it's finally here, 2007, wonderful memories for me. 7 weeks on tour, wrote a book, Champions of the World, 7 magnificent weeks. I believe we're going to see a repeat of that. So stay tuned for the next 2 months. We're going to have lots of fun on the show. We're going to give you lots of insights, and we're going to talk about lots of Bokke victories. But is this the tournament where France finally lives up to expectation, and can they handle the pressure of being the host? Because in 2007 they didn't. They lost to Argentina in the opening game. I was there in Paris. And then they lost to Argentina again in the playoff for 3rd and 4th place, and they weren't particularly good. They imploded. The Boks became the most popular team at the World Cup. The All Blacks crashed out in Cardiff, quite appropriately, for a World Cup that was hosted in France. And then they met Australia at Charles de Gaulle on their way home, and they basically decided on the Bledisloe Cup, which was then playing for 7th and 8th place.
Wow.
They could be in a similar position, both those teams. But Friday night is the big one. It's a 2100 South African kickoff. It's France against New Zealand. Before we get to that, let's talk about your favorite team, Michael Schecker's Pumas.
Yes.
What do you say, Ricky?
I say, watch out for these gringos. I think Argentina, man,
Tell me a bit more there.
I think Argentina.
I would like to have the
Argentina.
Because it's Mexican Spanish that you're giving me there.
Yes.
What's that?
Well, I mean, you know the dialect better than I do. But listen, Argentina, I think, are great dark horses in this competition.
Is it appropriate to use the word dark horses?
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure somebody could find a reason to be offended by that.
Say that could be the Shiny Knights?
Yeah, that's a nice one. Although, you know, the sort of Knights and Crusades and things, I think people get upset about that too. So, I don't know. Anyway, I think Argentina has a chance to make it to the Final Four. I think this is a very good team. I would love for them to start by ambushing England, and I think they might just do it.
Well, okay, you talk about ambushing England would imply that England is flying and Argentina's nowhere. It's quite the opposite. Argentina's really been nowhere, and England have been nowhere.
Yes. Well, Argentina ran us within a point.
And then went and imploded at home against a South African side that played with enthusiasm, played with a lot of width and a lot of pace. But we did expect the Argies to do a lot better at home. Look, I always say I never back Argentina's Pumas to win anything big because they don't have Messi in the number 10 jersey. Okay? Said that repeatedly. I dig that country. It's one of my favorite places, especially the city of Buenos Aires. I love the Argentinian people. But they're a side that just promises so much and then seldom delivers. 2015, they had a very good side. They pushed the All Blacks close for 45, 50 minutes. Sonny Bill Williams came on and changed the complexion of that game. 2007, they were the people's team. incredibly popular in France because 95% of that side was based in France and
Top
played
14.
in the top 14. But they lost 34-13 to us in a semi-final, and we were comfortable winners, no matter how much the British press said they had pushed us close. And then 2015, they lost in the third and fourth playoff to us as well. Where they have come good occasions, they knock over Ireland and kind of give them a 40 points or a 30 points. England have been a mess, but do you see Argentina beating them?
Yes, I can absolutely see that.
Why is that, Zels?
Well, I mean, Air Borthwick hasn't exactly taken off, and England are just very average. They're a loaf of bread at the moment. There's not a lot going on there. Some interesting personnel decisions, and I think England will be playing in this game. There's a lot of reputation on the line. I think Argentina are just a scrappier bunch of oaks. They will literally get in your face. They will punch you in the nose. They'll make it a scrap. They'll take it to the floor. They'll take you to the gutter, as Rassi likes to say. And that's not just in the forwards. They've got backs that like to do that too. So I think European rugby is very technical. And I think Southern Hemisphere rugby brings the grunt. And Argentina, with Checa in charge, have shown that they can play physically without giving up a lot of penalties as they did in that match against us. And I think they're close to doing something impressive. I also think they're completely under the radar. And every match that England plays now is like a must-prove game, where Argentina just sort of floats into the World Cup quietly. I think they've got a good chance to ambush these guys in the opener.
Just for qualification, you said they're like a loaf of bread. Can you just explain?
Well, it's just like average. It's just.
Are you saying that bread is average?
There's nothing fancy about bread, is there?
I think there's a lot that's fancy about bread if you've got it.
If you've got it, well,
Mate, forget about that now. You give great insights in terms of rugby.
yes.
What
Stay away
would-
from the food.
Yeah, well, yeah. what would Argentina have to do to beat England?
Mate, you know what I'm going to say. Score more points. What they need to do is they're physically going to smash England up front. And I think especially in the backs, I think Argentina has a huge advantage there because I think England has struggled throughout the time that Eddie was there to have that impetus in the back line that they need. Tuilagi is always one press conference away from not being match fit. And there's just not a lot going on in that England team. Where's the spark coming from in that side? Farrell is not available. So, I just don't see them putting it together. For me, Argentina's got way more X factor. A guy like Boffelli can kick it from anywhere. Great finisher. Matera, Kramer, they've got pieces there that can do damage.
They beat them when Eddie was still in charge at Twickenham. A very, very good win. Michael Chake has shown he can beat teams. They beat the All Blacks in New Zealand, but then the next week took 50. They ran the box at Ellis Park to within 1 point, but then got smashed the next week at home. Why would someone bet on an Argentinian side that's proven so inconsistent and has struggled so much in the Rugby Championship?
Well, you tell me, where's England going to beat Argentina? Where do you feel like they have the clear advantage over Argentina?
History.
Exactly, mate. That's why I said it's all about reputation. They're going into this game as England, but they're actually lowercase England.
But is the belief there within the Puma squad that they're
Definitely.
playing a team that's in disarray, a team that's underperformed, a team that's lost so many of their since Borthwick's been in charge? Can they actually say we're playing, these individuals are not England in our case?
No. I think they've got it. And I think that's one thing that Checker does bring to a team. Is just that we don't care about who your dad is. We're just going to come and punch you in the nose.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Give me a scoreline. Your first scoreline prediction of the 2020 Rugby World Cup.
Okay, I'm just going to...
SA Rugby Magazine's editor, Zellem Nel, and he got the Clermont double right. It was actually La Rochelle.
Yes, but it was French. I'm just going to absolutely wing on this and say it's a relatively low scoring. So whatever the overs, unders, I'm going to say low, and I'm going to say that Argentina win this by 5 points.
Give me a score though.
I'm going to say Argentina 24, England 19.
All right, I love that, but you're going to be wrong. I've got England to win because I'll play in uppercase. England, they'll get 30 points. Argentina will implode somewhere. They'll get 2 cards, and they'll score 20 points. England to win by 10. That's our
I started with a
prediction.
loss.
Our first prediction.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Wales and Fiji.
Who cares?
I do, because I'm a supporter of Ireland rugby.
Aren't you 3% Welsh?
Huh? Mate, I'm like the League of Nations. I've got a bit of blood in me in everything. and my son was conceived in Manly, Australia, during a Super Rugby Super.
Mate, I don't need any more details.
It was a great weekend because we beat the New South Wales Waratahs. So he once asked me, what are you? I said, you're a guy who really can't lose at the World Cup. I think it's going to be a great game of rugby, Fiji against Wales, because they're both going to play very positive rugby. And while I've thought Wales have been diabolical in the build-up, I think Fiji may have played their World Cup final.
Yes, they've got their win.
They beat England at Twickenham, 30-22. Again, when you look at the context of that game...
You just told me England are going to beat Argentina, and now you're talking about how they lost to Fiji at home.
But that's all smoke and mirrors, man.
Okay.
If you take the way they won that game, it's again that thing of who you're playing against. If they were playing against another team that was in England, they would have won that game 40-15. But they were hanging on at 30-22. So I don't know if the belief is there yet for them to consistently put a run together, because they like to come in with the underdogs. They've got some incredible individuals, especially in their backs. But I'm giving this one to Warren Gatland and Wales. Yeah. And I'm giving it to them by 15 points. I think they will win by 38-23.
Wow. 15 points.
15 points to Wales.
That's a bit of a hiding.
Wales, Scotty Gibbs, Wales.
Look, I think Wales are going to win this. I'm going to err on the side of caution and say it's going to be a 10-point win for Wales. I'm not sure they're good for 15 points. Even 10 feels like I'm putting myself out there. But hey, don't worry about it. Wales for the win. Wales for the win.
You look like you're shocked that I say 15. You go conservative and say 10.
Well, I mean, what are the percentages? 33% less than you. I mean, there's a chance Fiji could upset Wales in this game. So when you say 15 points, mate, you're putting yourself out there.
On the other hand, so we both kind of convinced Wales will come through.
I think technically they'll be good. I think they'll be good for it. I think they'll probably have the edge in the set piece. I think Fiji will score some points on the counter and the break and all that sort of stuff, and individual talent will come through. But I think Wales see it through at the end and they win by 10 points.
All right. Now for the big one.
Italy, Namibia.
No, Uruguay are playing who? We're not Portugal playing, Ricky.
I don't know.
Ronaldo, when is Portugal?
Yeah. Sheesh.
Looking forward to seeing Portugal play because they play a great brand of rugby. They just don't have the forwards to compete.
I want to see how many penalties they get for simulation.
Oh, mate, enough. France against New Zealand. Both teams have suffered some big injuries. Talk is that Barrett, one of the three, will be out. Some will say the other one shouldn't be playing. Some would question why the guy at fullback is playing. However, Geordie Barrett, they said, won't be out. I think that may actually count in their favour. Frizzell's out, Retallick's out, Lomax is out. So those are big names that are out of that All Black side.
Yes.
France equally, they've lost Paul Willemse. Obviously lost Intermac before in the last warm-up game against Scotland. Jalibu is a very good replacement, but he's not Intermac.
No.
And then Doughty.
Yeah.
They've lost him, and I think that's massive.
That is huge, literally.
I think he's right up there as one of the best in the world in the midfield.
Yeah, so I reckon that's worth probably. So this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I'm saying Geordie Barrett out and Deontay out, I think is a potentially a 10-point swing in that game, because I think the one thing that the All Blacks have been missing with Geordie Barrett is that whole backline is built for speed, which is great when the pack is on the front foot. I think they can slice you and dice you any way they like. But the problem is when the pack doesn't win, you've got a team of guys that aren't built to crash and bang. And so there's a lot of finesse and technical skills that come to the fore. But as Damien Delendi has shown, and as Jean de Villiers showed, and as every Spok 12 before them, you have to be able to get over the gain line and the back line, especially when the pack is struggling. And I think with Geordie Barrett out, it gives the All Blacks a chance to put a Oak with a bit more muscle at 12, maybe a bit closer to the ground, and a guy who is more compact and can get them over the gain line. I think that's going to take a lot of heat off that back row for New Zealand. And when you compound that with the fact that Dante's out, it's kind of it's a double swing in the sense that the replacement there is not going to be this crusher that he is, and the All Blacks are going to improve in a department where France gets worse. And for me, I think that's going to be decisive.
What do you say?
I'm saying New Zealand Mate.
No, man.
Yeah, I'm doing it again.
Do you know, every time...
Mate.
Every time we chat off air, you give me something else.
Mate.
Is this the curveball you throw
It's
me,
Jekyll
Ricky?
and Hyde. It's Jekyll and Hyde.
Ricky, is this what happens when you sit on the couch?
I'm saying the All Blacks are going to... And this is great for South Africa, because if the All Blacks win in this opener, they stay in control of that pool, and there's no chance that we get to face the All Blacks in the quarterfinals, because we'll win our group.
Okay, but let's go back to the All Blacks. I mean, historically...
Don't like France.
The best, the best team and consistently in world rugby in the professional era.
Yes.
We've had an England in 2002, 2003 that dominated the odd Australian side, the Box on occasion. France have had an Ireland in the last 4 years. Everyone says that they New Zealand's bogey team, but look at it the other way around. New Zealand's beaten them in 2 finals. They've beaten them a playoff for 3rd and 4th place. They've knocked New Zealand over in a quarter-final that was very controversial, and then they knocked them over in a semi-final in '99 when I happened to be at Twickenham in one of the great games on that Sunday when the late John Aloma, scored 2 fantastic tries, and I don't know what the French had at halftime, but they came out in that second half and they blitzed the All Blacks. So I think they've won 13 out of about 60 games against New Zealand. It's just happened to be the odd one in a high-profile situation. But I go back to a year ago, 2 years ago, when they played in Paris, and France won 40-25, and were very dominant in the first 40 minutes, and really beat up the All Black forwards. They came back into the game, they lost Ardie Savea through a card, and then France went away and scored a very, very good 15-point win. When you saw how the Box beat up the All Blacks at Twickenham, and got a very good start, and then kind of ran away with it, have the All Blacks got the cattle to actually go in there and rely on anything but history, the black jersey, a haka, and some French insecurity and uncertainty in that opening 20 minutes because of expectation?
So I think it very much comes down to what I said about what they do at 12, because I think that can change things there quite dramatically. What France have got right is in Europe, they are the giants, physically. They dominate teams. That backline gets over the gain line. They've got weapons. And then you've got the technical skills and the finesse of a Ramos and a Intermac and Dupont who just take it to another level. So what I'm saying is, if this All Blacks team can get over the gain line at 12, if they've got a guy who can carry them forward there, it takes a lot of heat off that back row, it takes away some of the issues that they have there at the moment. I think from a depth perspective, New Zealand are in trouble, because what comes off the bench is not the same as what starts, especially with those guys you mentioned injured. But I think they do. In a way, I think when we played France last year, we showed that the French pack's reputation is, maybe they can't live up to it as much as a lot of people think they can. And I think the All Blacks can at least hold their own against that French pack. And with the change in that backline, I think they can get their edge. And if you give the All Blacks a sniff, technically they're on point. They've got some of the best finishers in the world. Beauden Barrett was World Player of the Year, like the guy is phenomenal. Richie Mwanga is regarded by many as the best fly-off in the world. Aaron Smith's got a ton of experience. You give those guys some decent ball and they can carve you up.
Well, the key there is, and we spoke about, he looked at that backline that started against the Springboks, 9-15. I wouldn't pick one Springbok over them.
Exactly.
In terms of form and kind of experience. However, if you don't get the ball,
100%.
It doesn't matter who's wearing 9-15.
True.
And if I go back to that match in Paris 2 seasons ago, that All Black pack was trying to create, their backs were trying to create something way behind the game line, playing high-risk rugby, high-tempo rugby. They got the odd try, got back into the game, but there was this slow poison of the French never looking flustered. And the one thing I will give Fabien Galthy and this French team, and I keep on saying I'll be waiting for them to fall over, is they do look composed and they do have quality players. This is a golden generation of player that came through the schoolboy ranks, under 20s, and then into the senior ranks.
Yep.
And they seem to have built very good squad depth as well. Whoever comes into that system plays well. And Sean Edwards has been brilliant for France in terms of their discipline, in terms of their kind of defensive structure, because that was always their weakness. It was like this flair of the French, and they kind of weren't disciplined enough. And then Flock Cilliers, our South African lad, has really added that consistency to their goal kick, and I think their kickers are all kicking at 80% plus. And Ramos has been very good at fullback. And the rest can all kick. Jalabu can kick. Intermac, before we got injured, could kick as well.
Isn't Floxilius a South African guy?
Yeah, he's a South African guy.
What are we kicking at? What are our kickers kicking at?
We don't really need a kicking coach.
Okay.
But Flocky's there, Flocky Rume Clocky. And back in the day when I played police under 20, Flocky was playing for the senior side, just around the corner here in Pinelands. So he's come a long way, and he was a great club player. He played for Province, and he even got the odd game for the Springboks. But he's really come to his own as a kicking coach with the French team, and he's been outstanding. Yeah. So Flocky, thinking about you, and go do it. Go do it for South Africa, given that Paul Willemse can't. And when all things go good for France, we'll claim that it's you and South Africa has an influence in that. Everything's going to come down to that forward battle. Can this French team live with the expectation of the World Cup opener?
So all of the stuff you just mentioned, I think actually plays into the All Blacks' hands in the sense that because they're going to be fighting for parity up front, they're going to feel like the opportunities are here and short, rare opportunities to strike against France. And in a way, I wonder whether that doesn't make them play a more efficient, lower risk tactical game against France. I think in the past they've gone into these matches where they've had physical control and they've maybe taken chances that weren't on, and that's brought the French counter-attack into the game and the French flair into the game because it loosens the game up. I wonder whether the All Blacks don't go into this knowing that they're slightly wounded and play a more dink and dunk kind of game, play the numbers, play the odds, and get reward for that. So, look, France are... The bookies have got them as small favourites to win this match. I think they definitely have the capacity to do it if they play to their potential. I just doubt the ferocity of that forward pack to really drive it home in a World Cup opener. Massive expectation, like you've mentioned, playing at home. And what better way for the All Blacks to respond to their greatest defeat than by pumping the hosts in the opener?
Look, the All Blacks were diabolical. As good as we were at Twickenham, they were diabolical. Not only did they get beaten up, they lost players, cards, but I've never seen as many mistakes in terms of pushing the ball, trying their miracle offload every time. It's as if they knew they didn't want to get involved in that forward scrap because they were getting a pummeling. Now, it's been interesting the talk that's come out of the All Black camp. Jason Ryan, who we really rated, what he did with the Crusaders, what he did with Fiji, and kind of how he started to turn the All Black pack around in the Rugby Championship. He spoke about if Talia had scored close to half-time, they would have won, potentially could have won. I mean, they were 35-0 down on the hour, and they should have been 35-0 down within 15, 20 minutes. Spoke about there were a few technical interpretations that could be different. Fozzie spoke about going in as the underdogs under the radar. Sam Kane saying they'll take the great positives, maybe not such a bad thing. And then all the New Zealand media saying, hey, South Africa proved it. You can lose the opening game as they did against the All Blacks in 2019. You can play at 69% and you can become the world champions. I've never heard that kind of talk from within a New Zealand camp. It's as if they're preparing their public for a defeat, and then in their minds they're saying, we do believe, because historically we've done it, in the recent past, we believe we can beat an Ireland or a South Africa in a quarter-final and then hopefully have a crack at France again in the final. I just don't know if the belief is there in the All Blacks to win this game.
Yeah.
Are you agreeing with me, mate?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think the players will have the belief, but I certainly think that what you're saying there shows that Fozzie inspires no confidence. And the sooner they move on from him is probably the best for New Zealand rugby. But we'd love him to stay there for as long as possible. It's doing wonders for our rugby.
Well, he's got a couple of matches. He'll have some nice, easy wins to put his percentages over 70%, and then he'll be going home, obviously, in the quarterfinal, and Scott Robinson will take over. But before he goes home in the quarterfinal, he's got a big night in Paris. It will be his kind of World Cup final. The All Blacks will make it to Paris at the start, but it won't be the 28th of October. It's going to be the 8th of September. Sadly, boys. It's similar to when the Boks won in 2007. And I think it was the 20th of October that they won. And, as John Hoyt-Smith and Schalk Burger always said, guys, we were there waiting for you. You guys didn't come back from Cardiff.
All Blacks didn't pitch.
All Blacks didn't pitch, man. So, I've got France to win. I think they're good enough. I think Dupont is
convincingly, or to scrape it in.
No, they're going to win well, mate.
15 points.
Mate, they're going to win well.
I love this. Give me the numbers.
37 to 22.
37-22.
That will be the score.
Mate, come on. We have to
Gay
shoot this
Paris,
whole
it's
show
so
again
busy.
now.
The All Blacks are going to take a good old beating in the opener against a very good French team. And that will be the statement, the performance, the statement performance of France that will counter the box performance and get everyone hyped and worked up to say it's France, the would-be champions, against the
I
Springboks,
like it.
the defending champions.
I like the story.
And the narrative that we're going to build over the next 2 months is going to be green against Alain Le Bleu. And it's going to be the host against the most popular team. And the French are going to be anxious and nervous. And the Aussies are going to be spectators. And the Kiwis are going to be home. And the rest are just going to say the two powerhouses of world rugby, North v South. It's going to be glorious.
What a story.
What a story.
I'm excited.
But to kickstart that story, France has to do it in this opening game. If they struggle and lose, I don't see them coming back in the playoffs. That French public will take them to, they'll tear them to pieces. The doubts will cast in. You'll see a few French guys pulling hamstrings. They'll decide much better things to do than have this pressure. I believe they're primed to stick it to the All Blacks, and I think they'll thank South Africa for doing the dirty on the All Blacks at Twickenham. That defeat has hurt the All Black psyche and the New Zealand public psyche more than that team's letting on. They took a beating they didn't think they were ready for, or didn't think the Boks were capable of inflicting on them.
Yeah.
And the French will look at that game and go, whoopee-doo. It's time for us to... No, the 40-25 was convincing, but it wasn't emphatic because New Zealand had pulled back. But this one will be emphatic, and they will win well, and it will be a great start to what's going to be an incredible Rugby World Cup. I've kind of got over the fact that the French stole the World Cup from us and that we should be hosting it. I've got over that, in a way. But I am back in the French, all my French mates as well. And they're a popular team, man. You know, someone said, like, if you're going to lose a URC match final, lose it to Munster. They're a good side. If you're going to lose a World Cup, lose it to France. Not that we are. But outside of us, I want to see France progress. I want to see them do well. And apparently everyone in World Rugby does as well.
Yeah, indeed.
French referees, French TMOs, French broadcasters.
Correct.
All right, I've got it 37-22. I put it on the line. Ricky, my man.
I'm saying New Zealand 29-26.
Woo! 3 points.
Yes.
Gaan dit 'n rulle wees?
Dit gaan 'n rulle wees.
Primary winners on the first weekend of Rugby World Cup 2023. I believe it will be France. I believe it will be England. And I believe it will be Wales. The Six Nations teams.
We're both on board with Wales. I agree. Wales to win, Argentina to ambush England.
My
And
Southern Hemisphere mate here is back in the Rugby Championship, whipping boys, Argentina, and the champions of the Rugby Championship and the Bledisloe Cup. Let's not forget that. They're backing them to beat the opposition in the opening weekend. All I know is it's going to be great rugby. It's a 9 o'clock kickoff on Friday night. We will be chatting about our big game later in the week. That's the Springboks on Sunday in Marseille, in the south of France, up against Scotland the Brave.